Let me introduce myself once again. My name is Ekemezie Solai. I work with MTN Enterprise Business. And welcome to our MTN SME webinars for the month of March. If you are part of the last seminar we had, if you can remember the last webinar we had, can you type in the title of that webinar in the chat room if you can remember? Make it something. Yes, if you can type in the topic, let me know whether you remember the topic we discussed the last time. Can anybody remember the topic for the last one? Oh, Mr. Oseni from Niger State. Make it, mark it. Okay, that's what you can remember. Eh? Mr. Emmanuel Chibike Prince joining from River State. Fantastic. Fantastic. This is well attended. I'm glad. 150 people already in the meeting. Brilliant. Well attended. Afolabi Faramade, good morning. Ifeoluwa Suyi Love, welcome. Good morning to all Nigerians. Mr. Bonaya Chinedu from Abia State, thank you very much for joining us. Make it, mark it, and market it. Lola from Lagos, from Abeokuta, from Jigawa State. Wow, we have national spread already. We have national spread. Brilliant. Anambra State. Congratulations on your new governor. Congratulations on your new governor. Governor Soludo, fantastic. All the way from Kano, Borno State, fantastic. We have 165 people. So glad this morning. Fashola Communications from Yobe, wow. Ramon from Ibadan. Mukhtar Ismail from Borno, good morning. Good morning from Lagos. Ondo State, from Benue State, from Katsina, and from the big people in Lekki, Lagos. Basil's Kitchen, good morning. Ekiti State, Benue State, Jos, Jigawa State. Yes, this person remembers. Make it, mark it, market it. Tapping into the global franchise wealth. Brilliant. Yes, I think we have some good attendance and more people will join us. Once again, my name is Ekemezie Solai. I work for MTN. I work with enterprise business. And once again, I say welcome to the SME webinars for today. Once again, we'd like to remind you that any information you need about MTN products and services, you can get it on our MTN website, mtnonline.com. And also the website specific to businesses, mtnbusiness.com.ng, mtnbusiness.com.ng. Also, if you read Daily Trust newspaper for Friday, Business Day for Wednesday last week, and over the week, go to our website, mtnbusiness.com.ng/partners. You will see our expression of interest for people that would like to join us as channel partners as resellers, values resellers. You can go on our website to latch onto that. And also on mtnbusiness.com.ng, you are able to read about all our products and services, whether you're a corporate organization, you're a small business, an MSME, medium, micro establishments. You can get services, products and services that actually relate to you. Before I forget, you also join us on our Facebook tribe. Just search for MTN SME Tribe, MTN SME Tribe on Facebook, and click to join us. And you'll be glad. We will engage with you on different things. And this is an opportunity. It's a platform where you will not want to miss what is going on in there. Today we are discussing our webinars, and today's webinar will be discussing something very pertinent. And this SMA webinars are meant to give you insights, knowledge, bring different topics that will make it very important, very easy for you to run your business, very business centric. Last time we talked about branding, make it, market it, how you can make use of the global markets from wherever you are in Nigeria, and I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed that topic. Unfortunately, that video is not yet on our YouTube channel, so you can go on our YouTube channel, see MTN Nigeria YouTube channel, and see all the past webinars that we have done. including our REV program that we did in 2020 during the lockdown. The person for today is very vast in this area of regulatory things that we're talking about. Her name is Mary Ekemezie, and she'll be taking us on for the next 40 minutes. She'll be discussing regulatory issues with us. Let me just quickly run through her profile. She's the founder and lead consultant at Me Consulting, a client-focused legal consultancy offering a range of top-tier corporate and commercial legal advisory and employment law advice, also business support services. Prior to her setting up ME Consults, Mary was managing associate at Udo Uduma and Bello Osage, effective leadership and giving back to the community. She was a visiting lecturer at Wavecrest College of Hospitality, Nigeria's first monotechnic, where she taught hospitality and corporate law. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me, Mary Ekemezie. Good morning, Mary. You're muted.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Mary.
Good
Man,
morning.
your profile is intimidating. So, I mean, for you to be on the Who's Who Legal, I think that is something to be very proud of. We have 221 people in the house, 222, and I think the number will keep rising. So, Mary, the floor is yours. Please shoot. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm looking forward to an engaging session. So I'm speaking to corporate governance and regulatory compliance, and I'm looking at these two, which are very legal issues, but how these very legal issues can be used in your business to attract investors, and not just to attract them, but to retain them. So it's one thing to attract investors, another thing to retain the investors.
Please hold on, Mary, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's use the chat section for the questions. She'll be answering questions. You have a 10-minute session to answer questions. So please drop your questions in the chat box as she will be taking all the questions at the end of the session. Okay? So go ahead, Mary. Sorry about that.
Thank you. So the outline will speak to just 4 key things. The first place I'll look at the compliance and governance issues arising from the most common business structures we see. And for SMEs and startups, the most common are business name and limited liability company, private in particular. I'll look at the common pitfalls that I've seen in advising startups and SMEs. And what I'll look to steps you can take to build a compliance culture. So you can actually learn it. It's not rocket science. It can be done. And closing remarks on how to make your business ready for investors. Now, as I did mention, that the commonest business structures are business name and private limited liability company. A business name, though, does not create a separate legal personality. And so you and your business name are one and the same, which is why if you were to describe it, or if you were a party to a suit, what you would see is, for instance, if I was the one, it would be Mary Ekemezie, trading under the name and style of ME Consult, for instance. So your business name does not create a separate legal personality, unlike a private limited liability company. But the good news for business names, and why sometimes, particularly when you're just starting that business and you don't have a lot of funds, if you're bootstrapping, it might be a good place to start with, is because you have fewer statutory and filing reporting obligations. So there's and there is no statutory obligation to maintain statutory registers, which a private limited liability company has to do. However, you are subject to the mandatory statutory obligations. And so you have to pay, particularly employee-related ones. You have to pay your own tax as a proprietor. You have to pay tax for your employees. You have to, if you have up to 3 employees, you have to ensure that they enroll in the pension contribution scheme and that you make remittances on their behalf. If you have up to 3 employees, you also have to have group life insurance for those employees. You would also have to, if you have at least one employee, you have to make contributions to the National Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF, which is the body that administers the employees' compensation fund. And then if you're, and so these are the key ones that apply to you. Now, all of these obligations which I've listed, the employee related ones and the tax obligations, also apply to private limited liability companies. A private limited liability company, particularly if you qualify as a small private limited liability company, and most of you will qualify as small, there are a number of exemptions that apply to you. And so if you're a small one, you don't have to have a company secretary, which is one of the benefits of the new companies law. Under the previous one, you had to have one, but recognizing the changes to the business world and accommodating the particular peculiarities of small businesses, now you no longer have an obligation to have one. But having said that, unless you have a legal background, it is advisable that you have someone with a legal background who helps you work you through what you need to maintain your corporate records. So the reason why the company's law used to require business entities, private companies, limited liability companies to have a company secretary, but the company secretary helped you maintain your statutory books, which includes the register of members, which is a register where you set out the names of all your shareholders, the number of shares they have, when they transfer those shares, who they transferred it to, how many shares was transferred, when they cease to be shareholders, how that happened, when they acquire more shares. So at a first glance, if I wish to invest in your business, for instance, I can tell who the shareholders are. I can tell what your share capital is. You could have an arrangement with lawyer who walks you through how to maintain that. And the good thing about this new camera, also the new company's law, is that it also allows you to maintain electronic records, right? So if you have someone to put you through, it's something you could do on your own, or you could have a lawyer just sort of help you do this on an agreed basis. You have statutory filing obligations. So depending on the area where you operate. If you're in the food business, you do need to get your NAFDAC registrations. And in addition to your NAFDAC registrations, you absolutely have to get your intellectual property, which is a trademark. Since you already spoke to that at the last session, I'm not going to go into that. I'm only just going to emphasize that, look, in today's world, and to protect your business and your intellectual property, it is very key that you register your trademarks, particularly where your business thrives on your brand. Now, the difference between the business name and the private limited liability company is that you have to pay company's income tax. However, if your annual income is less than 25 million, you don't have to pay tax, thanks to the concessions we got from the amendments to the tax laws by the Finance Act. You also, it's not quite clear though where we stand on the VAT issue. And so what I recommend, because it's not very clear, although it says if your annual revenue is 25 million, less than 25 million, you don't have to pay tax, you don't have to pay VAT. It is not, based on my discussions with consultants in the accounting and tax space, it's not entirely clear if when you hit 25 million and 1 naira, whether the FRS will be asking you to pay the back taxes for the 25 million, or if it is going forward, you have to pay. So what I have been advised and what I will advise is that, just charge the VAT. There's no obligation today to remit, but just charge the VAT and have it and keep the money somewhere. So that when you hit that 25 million and above, that's the expectation that your business will grow, you would then be able to remit the entire monies without having quite a backlog of VAT to pay. Now, these are common pitfalls And I know for startups and small businesses, you just think that the most important thing is to focus on the business. Let's just buy and sell if that's what you're doing. Let me provide the service if that's what you're doing. Let me just market. But focusing on the business to the detriment of your record keeping, of your compliance culture, means that you will find it really difficult to scale. And even when you do attract investors, your business valuation will be impacted because the investor is going to factor into that business valuation the amount of money they need to address all of the regulatory lapses that they've identified. So the commonest one is failure to keep records. It's very important that you keep records of your employees. Who did you employ? Give them a very short letter. And I even set out what their name is, where they live, what their duties are, how much they're earning, if nothing else, and what you need to do to terminate the appointment. Second one is keep records of the orders you get. You know, who bought from you? Who did you sell to? Who asked you for business, but you were not able to deliver it because you don't have enough money. Now, on this one about record keeping, it was in the news recently, one of the businesses in the agribusiness, she was able to attract the amount of investment she needed to scale the business because she's been tracking her orders. So both those she fulfilled and those that came, but she wasn't able to fulfill. And so when she was pitching to investors, she could show them, look, there is a market for this business. These are the orders I have already fulfilled. These are the orders that have come, but I'm unable to fulfill. I cannot overemphasize the importance of keeping records. Do not sign any document that creates legal obligations for you. I really beg you, do not. And I have seen this happen several times, and people just sort of lose out on their business, particularly when you're a private limited liability company. And you maybe have some consultants who provide support to you. They advise you on how to structure your business or how to sort of penetrate in the business, or they provide strategy advice to you. Understandably, you want to compensate, you don't have money, but be mindful. I have seen people sign off significant chunks of their businesses because they're thinking, let me just give them, it doesn't really matter. But these advisors are just advisors, and you are the one doing the grunt work, and the one actually doing all the work. And then when they start to call for those shares, particularly when maybe they started off actually providing advice, but they just stopped doing anything after they signed the agreement with you, you're stuck because you have a binding document that says you have to give this amount of shares. And I had advised on one where they eventually had to start negotiating so they could get it reduced. They could claw back some of the shares. And guess what happens when you get to that stage? You have to retain a lawyer to do a negotiation. There might be might ruin a relationship that was going on well, or you might even just never get those shares back. And you know how you'll be resentful if you feel you're working for somebody who doesn't deserve it. Sign investment agreements also. Don't sign any investment agreement unless you get a lawyer to look at it. I know it is very tempting. I need the money now today. I need to scale. I need to. You see those fine prints? They're very, very important. There's a reason why lawyers spend some time in school, because I'm also sure if I come to your trade, there are many things I may know, but there are many things that are just trade secrets that it's only those in the business who actually know it. Your business grows as much as you have employees. So as you're thinking about the business, start thinking about what is my strategy for retaining talent. You have to remember that you're not able to play at the same levels as established businesses. You don't have the kind of money that they have, deep pockets, you don't have, but you have things that are valuable. Can you employ employees on a part-time basis? Can you let them work on a shift basis? Are you willing to allow them flexible working hours, particularly for those who are mothers or who just want to be able to go and do school runs? Are you able to make them feel inclusive, right? Think out of the box. we don't have money, right? But every birthday we celebrate it in this office. It's just cake and soft drinks. It's very small, but it matters. The company does really well, and you give a small bonus of about, I don't know, 5,000 per person, or 2,000 or 3,000. These things mean a lot. You decide that one day in the month I'll feed everybody. It's just lunch, but you know, you're building loyalty, which you can cash back at a later date. So think out of the box, but have a talent retention strategy. You don't want employees coming and then leaving you, and then leaving you. They leave with the business knowledge, leave with the history, and you're constantly starting off afresh. Investigate your business partners. So you started out as a let's say you started up as a business name. You're just doing your thing. You're thinking I want to grow, and then somebody is coming to join you. In addition to wanting that money they're bringing, investigate them. Do a due diligence, a legal one. Find out, you know, what do we know about those people? Are they in other businesses? What have they done? But read, go online and see what can you find about this person. Who are they? There are a couple of entities I know that do like a, what would I call it now? Like a DD on a person, where they just find out what is known about this person, what history do they have. If you know the other business partners, ask them, who is this person? You don't want to get into your business with someone who doesn't share your values, and then you guys are constantly fighting, or who is looking to edge you out. And I've seen that also happen. Investors are coming. Are you guys aligned on values? If you're not aligned on values, say no, thank you. Wait for somebody who understands what you want to do with your business. And even with your founders, and this is one of the ones I find very common all the time. Maybe 2 or 3 people started a business, and then along the way, somebody thinks, I've been at this for 2.5 years, and I don't really have money. I want to go and get a job, and I want to get more money, which is fine. It's okay. But if you don't have a founders agreement that speaks about how you can sort of maybe take back part of their shares if they didn't spend a number of years, that's it. They've gone away. You are then left slaving to build up a company that you're going to share with somebody who didn't do the work. So it's very important to have agreements that document how those things will work in practice. Very important. Another common pitfall I see, and this particular one makes it difficult for you to get investors, or even when investors come, sometimes they walk away. I've seen a deal where the deal just didn't work because the amount of cleanup the investor had to do, they were just too tired, and thought, it's not worth the effort, and they left. One of the things I see, particularly with SMEs that own companies, someone says, I own a share, I want to buy shares, they give you money as deposit for shares. You don't actually take the steps to increase share capital if you don't have shares. And right now, we no longer have the concept of authorized share capital. So you don't really have any shares anyway. And if you still have any authorized share capital, which you haven't issued as of today, you have between now and December 31st to issue it. Otherwise, it lapses, and that's it. You've lost the benefit. You don't actually allot the shares. People do transfers. You don't record it that the transfer has happened. And so we can't even tell who owns what in your company, who's a shareholder. Now, if an investor came in, gave you money, and you didn't do what you're supposed to do, they don't have certificates indicating that they own the shares. The records are not clear. In their head, they know. Guess what? They won't give you extra money. Guess what? They won't even advise you to come into your business. They'll be looking for how they can exit the business. So very important. It looks very small, but very important that you actually pay attention to these factors I've raised. Now, how do you build a compliance culture? I've spoken about all the things you should or shouldn't do. And before we even go into building a compliance structure, I thought it was good to speak about what corporate governance is, right? Corporate governance are structures of rules, practices, processes that help you manage a company, and the mechanisms, processes that help you to control and operate a company. Now, it's important. Why do you even want this corporate governance? I'm sure you've heard this several times, corporate governance, corporate governance. What is the purpose? If it exists in an organization and if you apply it, that organization will achieve its goals. It will make formal processes. You see all of those businesses where one man makes a decision, it's terrible. Something happens to that person, that business is gone. So how do you devolve power? Who else can sign checks in your absence? What is the check limit? You know, so maybe I can allow my manager to sign checks of up to 5,000 or 10,000 or 20,000. If it's anything above 20,000, it has to be the MD. You know, do you have those processes? Can the business run in your absence? Almost every single thing sits at your table. How do you arrive at decisions? Do you have a meeting with the management team? Do you identify what the risks are? How do you assure compliance? Now, regulatory compliance, on the other hand, is adherence by an organization to the laws, regulations, guidelines relevant to your business operations and your processes. There are laws, so if all you are is even a business name, if nothing else applies to you, the company's law applies to you. You have to file annual returns every year in June, by June 30th. If nothing else applies to you, the tax laws apply to you. You have to pay your tax and your employees' tax. You have to also comply with the Pension Reform Act and the Employees Compensation Act. So you can see that even though you're operating at the very most basic corporate structure, you still have obligations under the law. Now, all of those things I have said, you can see they can distill it into four: people, purpose, process, performance. Now, in the last slides, I will speak to each of those topics. People. Every business has a founder who envisions it. If it's a business name, the founder is also the sole proprietor. So, and it may be founders when there are two partners. And every business has a management team. Sometimes the founders are also the management team and the employees. If you're a limited liability company, you would have whose vision, who started this company, who understands it? The founder or founders. You have a board of directors who are the ones who oversee the company. You have your management team and your employees, and you have your shareholders, again, limited liability company. Those are the people. Why is people important? And I'm paying attention now to founder/management team. Why are they important? They're actually the ones that run the business. And so if they're ineffective or if they're incompetent, orders will be delayed. Clients will be frustrated. And if the clients are frustrated, company begins to lose business. Company begins to lose business, its fortunes begins to decline. So you can see it's very small, something very small as doing things properly has an effect on whether orders are fulfilled or not, and whether clients are happy or not. And if your clients are not happy, your business is dead. That's it. Your business is as good as your clients. So you have to focus on how do I make sure my clients are happy? And that is something that the business management team has to constantly look out for. Are products fit for purpose? And product being fit for purpose means that sometimes you're also looking at, does it have the regulatory compliance? It needs to be able to advance on the market. So particularly in the food industry, right? If you don't have NAFDAC, you can't get into the big shopping outlets, into the, you can't really get distributors nationwide. You can't do that. Now, from people, we go to purpose. And purpose focuses on the business conduct and ethics. How do you run your business? Are you just anyhow, let's just cut corners? There's no honesty, there's no integrity. I will deliver it today, ma. I promise you I'll bring it today. I'm still calling you 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. I'm coming, I'm on the way. 1 week, we're still on the way. What does that mean? You don't have integrity, the person of the word. Why would I want to do business with you again? Why would I want to refer you to some other person? It doesn't make, I won't be able to do that. Or you deliver a product, the product is shabby, it's spoiled, and I call you to say, oh, this will happen. And you say, that product, oh, I don't want to do today, madam. Okay, no problem. So try eating that money that day, right? Will I come again tomorrow? No. Will I come into the business? No. Sustainability. What are the things you should be concerned about that affect the viability and continued existence of the business? And this, we're looking at the environment, right? And we'll be looking at also community health and safety hazards. So if you're in a business that's where you produce a lot of waste, you have to have a good waste disposal system. You have to be concerned about how my employees doing. Do I need to buy personal protective equipment for them? How do I make sure that nothing happens? Do I have first aid, safety rules around? Do we have like a process for when there's a fire outbreak? How to ensure everybody gets out? How are we dealing with the community in which we live? Do we have CSR initiatives? All of this goes to the purpose of a business, and all of this ensures that the business continues actually. Now, both A and B are deeply connected because it is the people in people that will ensure that the purpose is carried out. So if your people you don't have top tier quality people, people that have the requisite skill set, that business will not grow. So your purpose is very important because the business will then deliver long-term corporate success and economic growth. And if your business is doing well, investors will come. Process. Now, this one deals with records and record management. I've spoken about that at the beginning of my presentation. Payment controls, I've spoken about that. Accountability and transparency, very important. Effective internal control mechanisms. And here we're looking at audits and we're looking at whistleblowing. I mean, a number of you are on social media, so I'm sure many of you saw all of what was trending about, toxic workplaces, toxic bosses. You want to have a system that allows you to find out if the same thing is happening in your organization. So you don't hear about it on social media. You hear about it from your employees. So do you have avenues where they can report anonymously what's going on? So you can even investigate and find out, okay, what exactly is going on? What do I need to change? If people are stealing, what are your audits processes? What are your control processes? How do you ensure that people are not stealing your stuff? If you're stealing your stuff, you're not going to make profit. You're not going to break even. And if you're not breaking even, no investor is coming. Ultimately, they want to make money. That's why they're coming. So from an investor perspective, why are we focusing on those processes? Very important to have processes because the investor knows that if they come in, I want to invest a lot of money ensuring that corporate records are up to date because they're already up to date. There'll be clear record of the assets of the company and who owns what. The company, of course, will have the approvals and permits they need to run their business, and there'll be a clear strategy for renewing those approvals. You know that they're authorized signatories, and so this will reduce the incidence of fraud and key man risk. If they're the only person, they're not available, business will not go on. That business isn't sustainable, and that's the truth. Because if something happens, you fall ill or something happens, that's it. Nothing's going on. There's no cash. The company's financials, if you're keeping your financials, will show a clear history of profitability or otherwise. And even by studying, you can see, oh, where do we need to sort of make savings? What do we need to adjust? What do we need to improve upon? And you can also tell the clientele base because what you're keeping track of who your clients are, what orders they're given. And the employees know that there's a clear mechanism for reporting wrongdoing, and which in turn builds investors' confidence in the company. So yes, it's process, but guess what? It leads down, it affects your bottom line. And then the last thing is performance. Now, this element looks at company's revenue. Is the company doing well? The company is only doing well if your employees are working hard, if you found out working hard, if everybody's working hard to ensure that things are doing well. The products and services are fit to purpose. So if people complain, you take that complaint on board and see how to improve your service or your products. You're looking constantly for ways to scale, looking for ways to improve even the functions of the products, how to, maybe it's a packaging you want to change, maybe it's a size, maybe it's a brand, how am I attracting more people to want to use my product and my service? There is room for innovation adaptability. Are you anticipating changes in the business environment? What is happening? What should we be paying attention to? Are there changes in the regulatory space that you should be aware of? HR processes, onboarding, employees. The employee, as we're seeing now, in some ways an employee market. And like I said, you want to retain employees because they have, if you have employees who've been with you longer, they know how things are done. If new people come, they're able to train new people. And we're also able to retain the confidence of your customers. But I'm wondering, every time I come as a different person, what's wrong with this company? What's wrong with this business? You don't want that. So you have to have clear onboarding. How do they join us? How do we promote them? Please promote people. Don't let people be on the same level for forever. Even if what they're doing is moving from level 1 to level 2, that's okay. They're moving, Shana. Promote people. Have a clear trajectory for growth. And then when things happen, infractions will happen, misconduct will happen. How do you discipline it? Are you consistent? And when somebody's not a good fit, how do you exit them for the business? This is performance. And employee retention policy is very important. Like I said, train. I talk about incentives, right? But training is also key. Sometimes in your network, you might have people who might be able to come and do training. They come and do training. Offer them a stipend. You may not be able to afford to pay, all your payment may be transport, and that's fine. Your business is growing. So you can ask your, if you have an auditor, ask your auditor to come and give your finance team some sort of training. The auditor won't mind. They'll be happy to do that. To value added service to their client. If you have a lawyer friend or if you have a lawyer retainer, ask them to come and do some trainings for you, for either your HR or your management team. So look inwards, be creative in terms of providing the training employees need and incentives. And like I said, have a clear path. How are they growing? So in the final analysis, closing remarks is if you leverage corporate governance and regulatory compliance, you will attract and you retain investors because your company will be doing well. And when investors come, they see that, oh, this company is one I want to invest in because one, I don't have a lot of cleanup to do. They already have a sense of where they want to do. And investors who come in will stay. They're more willing to put in money because they can see how the business will grow. So you need to reevaluate your business in the following areas: your product and your service offerings. How are you doing? Are your clients happy with what you're providing? If they're not happy, what's feedback you're getting? Do you have a mechanism for getting feedback from clients? Business structure. If you intend to scale, you must be at the very minimum a private limited liability company. So while I understand when you're just starting, you're organized as a business name, your one of your immediate goals over the next 1 or 2 years of your business is, look, how do I transition into a limited liability company? So that is where investors are more likely to be willing to put in money because it creates a distinct legal personality between the investor and the company. The management structure. Does everything revolve around you? Is there a process? Regulatory compliance, do you have a strategy? Do you have like a checklist where you indicate all the things you have to do? Some things are done monthly, like pension is done monthly, tax is paid monthly. Do you have a checklist so you're able to track how it's done and when it is done? Employee engagement, how are employees able to provide feedback? If you don't have a process, develop one. Operational processes, records, I can't overemphasize records, have records. And that is it from me. Thank you very much for listening. And I'll take any questions you have at this point.
Oh, thank you, madam. Thank you so much for such a wonderful session. There are so many questions. My colleague, Blessing, will be taking over from here. And Blessing, over to you now for questions.
All right. Thank you, Derry. Thank you so much. I heard a lot of things. Before getting a partner, you have to do due diligence on your partners to know if they actually have your company at heart, if it's the same value. Thank you for that. Okay, let me quickly dive into the questions. Please, can you write down the list of statutory requirements for a business name as mentioned earlier, e.g. NS, ITFs? Okay, let me go to the next question. I registered a business name and the number is BN -- instead of the RC of limited liability. How does this affect the business patronage?
So like I said, a business name is slightly different from a limited liability company, but depending on where you're starting from and what industry you're in, it might be sometimes, it might be that is even what I would say start with. But because some investors will just not put money in a business name, and that's the truth. So it might affect your ability to attract investors. But will it affect your business to do your business? Not really, because your business, just make sure that all of the assets of the business is registered in the business name, and that's fine. But like I said, if you intend to scale, you must be looking to, within the next year or two after running the business, to transition into a limited liability company. Okay. Will it affect your patronage? No. Will it affect the ability to attract investors? It may, yes.
Okay, so it might affect investors coming in because of the just business name, not a limited liability company.
Yes, and because investors, when you invest in a business name, there is no distinction between you, the business name, and yourself. And so all of the liabilities of the company are yours. The reason of the business are yours. So the reason why people prefer companies is because there is a distinction between the company and the shareholders.
And the shareholders, so, okay. All right, thank you so much. Can business name holder do businesses in government offices like bid for contracts?
Many times, the requirement is that you must be a limited liability company. So that's also a limiting factor. Many times, that's a requirement.
So, okay, Yakubu is asking if we can send the materials via email. The document you shared,
Yeah, absolutely.
If we can send them via email, so we can do that. Is there anything a business CEO would do to avoid an employee who resigned from work from taking his business ideas to another place?
So I'll provide a two-pronged approach to response to this. I'll provide a practical response and I'll provide a legal response. Legal response, not legal. You should have your employees sign a non-compete, non-disclosure, confidentiality agreements. It's good to have these contractual things in place. You should have that. Secondly, practical. So let's say you are in the agri space and you produce food supplements or food products. As you're just starting, of course, be paying attention to the employees, but maybe when you're mixing, when you're developing the formula, I don't have employees there. We all know Coke is fantastic, but the people that own Coke are people that have the formula for Coke till tomorrow. Pepsi has come, it's not Coke. All sorts of drinks have come. So you also need to take practical steps so legal, yes, but practical. Until you possibly grow to a point where you think, okay, fine, I'm at the point where I can franchise this and it doesn't really matter. You have to take practical steps. So don't tell everybody everything. You can't know your trade secrets. I mean, if you think that this client is very important to you, maybe you want to service that client yourself. Once you get to the point where the client's invested in you and won't go anywhere. A lot of common sense, what I would say. Yes, have contractual, but also just be wise.
Okay. Please, I need to know what are the regulatory obligations for an agro-applied company that is also into processing.
So what kind of agro, in which space in agro are you? If you're doing anything food, NAFDAC will have oversight. You'll also have some sort of sun overlap in terms of just to ensure that you have the NIS, you meet the NIS standards. A lot will depend really on the space where you are. So you also need a factory's license, for instance, and the factory's license is issued by the Ministry of the Ministry of Labor. They're the ones who oversee that. There will be, you might need, again, depending on what kind of food you do, food handlers tests. Depending on the kind of business you do, food handlers tests. So unless I have specifics, these are just the broad areas, but unless I have the specifics of a business, I can't tell you every single thing, but I know that NAFDAC, SUN, and Ministry of Labor will apply, will have some regulatory oversight, in addition to the statutory employee-related obligations I had mentioned earlier. All of those will also apply to you. Of course, tax.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning. Please, what is the difference between tax payments and filing annual returns? Please explain how the annual return is done and also more about the tax payment and exemption.
So I'll start with tax. Now, I'll start with the employee tax. If you're an employee, you have to pay tax. If you have an employee, I beg you, get an accountant or an auditor to help you design your payroll and help you figure out how much you owe to the state government. Now, when you register, let's say if you have a business name or even a limited liability company, you pay tax to the state where the employee resides, not where your business is, where the employee resides. So if your employee resides in Enugu and is working remotely, you pay tax in Enugu. You have to go to the Enugu State Inland Revenue Service, for instance, and find out what the requirements for registering your business as a taxpayer in the state. They'll give you a tax number, and they'll give a tax number to your employee. And then within 7 days from the end of the month, within 10 days from the end of the month, you're meant to send in the money to that. And they'll show you how to make the payments, whether it's check, whether it's transfer, they will tell you. So you have to actually literally go to if you're in Lagos, go to LRS and find out. And they're very helpful. Now, for federal taxes, which is the company's income tax, education tax, VAT, is paid to the FRS. In order to sort of, boost the economy, the federal government sort of created some tax exemption. So if you earn less than 25 million in revenue, you don't pay tax. In all of this, again, Very important. This is not the time for you to say I don't have money. Get a tax consultant to help you figure out exactly how much is a business even generating, right? And they would help you. So when you registered a business since I think 2020 or 2021, CAC and FRS have integrated their business processes. And so once you register your business, you automatically get a tax identification number if you're a limited liability company. So all you need to do is just take that tax identification number, go to the nearest FRS office in the locality where your registered address is, and they would help you. They'll tell you what forms you need to fill to sort out your VAT payments and remittances. The officials are helpful. If you don't want to do yourself, get a tax consultant to do it. And that's from a tax perspective. Now, what is the annual returns? Annual returns for companies that qualify. If you're a small company, you don't qualify. You need to send a certificate to a small company. For companies that qualify, that's people that earn more than 25 million. But if you're a small company and you have a foreign investor, you have to file annual returns. It's pretty much just a summary, it's a form that you find on the CAC's website, where it tells who the shareholders of a company are, the name of the company, the RC numbers, what the I think the revenues of a company is. So sometimes you file the audited accounts that shows how much the company has done, it has made in the year, how much paid in taxes, and all of that. But for small companies, it's just the form. And for business names, it's also the form, the name of the business, the name of the proprietor, and when it started, how much revenues you made. So the form is self-explanatory. Okay. You can have a lawyer help you, or you can have a tax consultant or auditor help you fill it.
Okay, thank you so much. So if I get you right, if I have a small company and I have an investor, I have to fill that form, even if we don't make up to 25 million in a year.
If you have a foreign investor.
Foreign investor, okay. I have to file in those the annual return forms. Okay. All right, thank you so much. What are the requirements for starting a public liability company?
Public liability company, the only requirement for setting it up is to register it as CAC now. You simply you just go and register and say, I want a public liability company. But I think you have to have a minimum of 50. I think I have a minimum of 50 shareholders, I believe. And your share capital is slightly higher than private company, but that's it. But I mean, so if you do that, then depending on the sector, I mean, once you're a public company, right, you're regulated by SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. Once you're a public company, by default, you're regulated by SEC. So you have SEC to contend with. And then depending on the sector where you work in, there'll be other regulators.
Okay, thank you. All right. What is your take on the new Finance Act that now mandates schools to be registered as private limited liability company? Knowing that most of these private schools are sole proprietorship, how did they transition to this new status?
So it's not impossible to transition, right? And throughout this session, I'll be talking about how you should, if your business then be looking to transition. What I would say is document all the assets owned by the business name, which is really the individual. Register a company, and then have an agreement between the company and the individual transferring the assets to the company. So the company owns it. So you're transferring your trademark, you're transferring the buildings, you're transferring several things. Or if you don't want to transfer, you could lease. So you could still continue to own the school premises and then lease it to the company. And just run it. It's not impossible to do, sort of say. It's not impossible. You also have to understand where the government is coming from. Nigeria is not doing well financially, so we're looking to expand the tax base, and that's why this is happening.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Can a farmer cooperative, can they file for annual return?
Depends on how they're registered. Okay. It depends.
Okay. All right. Okay. How can you reduce and increase share capital, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of that?
Increases share capital. Well, right now, under this new companies law, you only increase in share capital if you want to allot the share capital immediately. So it means that for you to increase in share capital, there's somebody who's coming in or existing shareholders want to increase their shareholding. You need a shareholder special resolution, authorizing the company to increase the share capital and to allot the shares in the agreed proportion, and is filed at the companies and is filed that you file that at the CAC. Certificate is issued indicating that you guys have increased your share capital. You come back to, and then you file your return of allotment showing who the shares were allotted to. And then your register of members, you update it to indicate who holds what. Now, if you increase your share capital, you will have to also amend your memorandum and articles to indicate that you've increased your share capital upwards. That's it. Now, if you're allotting the shares to a new shareholder, you need the existing shareholders to waive their preemptive right so that this new shareholder can take on the shares. To reduce your share capital is slightly different. You need shareholders' special resolution, yes, but you also need to go to court to sanction it.
That's a long process.
Yeah, it is. Because it's the reason why is that we're taking money away from the company. So we want to know why we're taking money away from the company.
Okay. Thank you. What are the documents an NGO should file annually? NGO.
I'll have to come back to you on this one. I didn't prepare for NGO. So when I'm sending the notes on, I'll include some words on what an NGO. I didn't prepare for this one, so I'll have to come back to you on this one.
Okay. It's now 11 o'clock. So I'll introduce my colleague Motuera to round up the session. And thank you so much, Ms. Mary. You did wonderfully well. Thank you so much. Your topic was very insightful and educative. Thank you so much.
I agree. Thank you so much, Blessing. Thank you so much, Mrs. Mary, for this very insightful section. I'm very excited. And thank you so much, Blessing and Adering, for facilitating this session. We're actually right on track today. So, and I want to say a big thank you to the entire audience that we have. I mean, amazing 270 plus people, and they were still here till the end of the session. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed this session. And please, like Adering said, do not hesitate to go to our YouTube page. You know, if you want to rewatch this session, it's going to be uploaded there in some couple of days. We also have a Facebook page, SME webinar, where you can SME Tribe. Excuse me. It's a community of SMEs, medium, small enterprises, where you can actually be able to keep yourself informed earlier enough of our upcoming webinars. We always share information there as well, and it's also an opportunity for you to interact with other SMEs like yourself. So please do join us on that community. Invite your other family, friends who are SMEs as well to be a part of this. So thank you so very much, everyone, once again. I think at this point, are we owing them anything? Is there anything we want to share? Have you been able to share the other information?
Yeah, so as you can see on the screen is still her contact details. Her address is there, her email address, her phone number is there, and the website to her organization is there. So let's try to reach out to her by email, preferably. And I trust that because we setting this up was through emails and SMSs, so she responds to our emails. So if you really want to contact her for more details, just send her an email on mary@me-consult.org. mary@me-consult.org.
I'll be happy to come back. That's
okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so because this is very insightful, I want to thank everyone that joined. Interestingly, there were people that joined from 9-10 in the morning when we're even still doing preparations and stuff for the session. And people were really eager because the topic is very important. It's needed. You can't joke with regulatory and other regulatory requirements in any business you are doing anywhere in the world. Red tape they call it red tape. Regulation is usually called red tape and stress, but it is needed. We need to be regulated in whatever business we are doing.
That's true, Derry. That's true.
Very, very interesting. Thank you for joining us on this session. And to all the 260 something people that joined us on this call, we appreciate you. Please go to our YouTube. Yes, someone is asking, what is your YouTube page? MTN Nigeria. Just go on YouTube and look for MTN Nigeria's YouTube page. Just type MTN Nigeria in search in YouTube. Loads of videos, loads of materials will be there on the YouTube page. You can watch over and over again. Remember, we had a Rev program in 2020, right? Blessing. Rev was in 2020, yes.
Yes, it was in 2020, August, it started in August 2020.
August 2020, go on and just type, you can even, to be specific so that you can quickly get to it, just type MTN Rev program. Rev is spelled R-E-V-V. R-E-V-V. Just click on that, just type that into your search. It will bring out all the 8 or 9 or so sessions that we had. There were sessions on finance, there were sessions on HR, there were sessions
We did a lot. We did a lot.
Actually,
We did a lot. Yes.
On Rev, yes.
Yes.
And you can also come down all the sessions.
Past sessions that we've done. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank
All
you.
right.
DHM.
Finally,
Precious, thank
finally. Yes, thank you so much, Precious. Finally, I know that please kindly confirm, Mary. I know you have a LinkedIn handle, right? You are on LinkedIn.
Yes, I am.
Yes. So
my LinkedIn is Mary Ekemezie still.
All right, so that's a name. So please, if you have questions that we're unable to attend to here because of time, you can kindly just shoot it to her, on LinkedIn. I'm sure she'll be willing to respond from there. So thank you, everyone. I also have few people that I want to apologize to. Like Aderi mentioned, I think some of us actually joined as early as 9 a.m. while we were having our test run. At that time, there's a lot of things that actually want to make this for you to wait to the beginning of the session. So I really want to apologize if those sort of people are still here. Please, we really apologize for that. And thank you so much for staying to the end. Someone is asking us to paste your name again. Can you quickly put your name in the chat box, Mary, for them? Your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn name, rather. So that is the end of today's session. Thank you, everyone, for staying to the end, and have a lovely day. And enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
I believe our name is in the chat already, guys, so you can just look it up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you so very much.